My name is Elara, and I am 68 years old. I remember the day my daughter, Serena, showed up at my front door with her 5-year-old son, Leo, and one small, cheap backpack. "Just for the weekend, Mom," she said, already turning away. She didn't hug him. She didn't kiss him. She just left. That was 12 years ago. My daughter, Serena, abandoned her 5-year-old son, Leo, on my doorstep and didn't call for 12 years. For 12 years, I was his anchor, his advocate, and his only family. The day he sold his data verification system for $2.5 million. She walked back into our lives not with an apology, but with a lawyer and a briefcase full of meticulously forged custody papers. She thought she was stealing a fortune from a panicked old woman, but she didn't realize the quiet, autistic boy she walked out on had spent a decade building the one tool in the world capable of proving every single one of her lies. Before we dive into the details of this long fight, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It helps these stories find the people who need them. Now, back to the story. I raised Leo myself. Everyone, the social workers, the school counselors, even some of my own friends said he was too difficult, too different, too burdened by the abandonment and his own quiet anxiety. They were wrong. By 16, Leo had built a data verification system that was worth $2.5 million. Then the local news covered his story. 2 weeks later, my doorbell rang. There was Serena, my daughter, standing on my porch with a lawyer and a briefcase full of documents, custody papers, financial records, visit logs, all perfectly forged, all claiming she'd been involved the whole time. Our lawyer looked at the papers and gave me the hard truth. Without irrefutable proof they're forged. A judge will have to side with the mother. You could lose the guardianship, and she'll take control of his fortune. I panicked, but Leo didn't. He was sitting right next to me, utterly calm. He leaned over and whispered, "Let her talk. Let her say everything she wants to say." I stared at him. We were about to lose everything, and he wanted her to keep lying. I had no idea what my quiet, brilliant grandson was about to do. Serena left on a damp Monday in 2013. Leo just stood on the porch, his small hands pressed tight over his ears, rocking heel to toe. The sound of the refrigerator hum flinched him. The clicking of the heater made him press his hands tighter. I had taught elementary school for decades, but standing there with my silent, anxious grandson, I realized I knew nothing about truly living with this kind of quiet pain. His backpack was too light for a weekend. When I finally called Serena once a day for 2 weeks, there was always just silence or a weary voicemail. Then, nothing. She had vanished. Leo's early years with me were a desperate lesson in consistency. I learned he needed the same breakfast every single day: oatmeal, 3 blueberries, and a sprinkle of cinnamon, served in his favorite, chipped yellow cup. I learned the drive to the therapy center had to be the exact same route. I learned that touch was forbidden unless initiated by him. I stopped trying to make him talk or look at me. I focused on keeping the world stable. After 6 months of this ritual, he slowly began to calm down. He'd sit at the kitchen table while I read, never meeting my eyes, but his presence was a comforting weight. When he turned 6, he became obsessed with my collection of old, numbered photo albums. He didn't look at the pictures. He spent hours organizing the albums by the subtle differences in the texture of the binding, labeling the spine with tiny, precise numbers. At 7, the patterns he saw began to translate into paper. He started drawing intricate symbols in dollar store notebook circles. Lines, ticks, tracking something only he understood. The therapist told me not to worry. He's tracking his world. Elara, it helps him feel secure. Let him document. So I did. He filled notebook after notebook with his symbols. The question and the proof. The breakthrough, the moment. I knew this quiet boy was built differently. Came a year later. Leo was 8. He was sitting at the table, writing in his notebook while I made his oatmeal. Why did you leave her? The question was so sudden, so direct, I nearly dropped the spoon. He wasn't looking at me, but he had spoken a full, complex sentence, years of mostly silence condensed into one painful question. I sat down across from him. Your mother said she couldn't handle it, I said, giving him the painful, simple truth. He nodded once, wrote something in his book, and went back to staring at the page. That was it. He hadn't asked for comfort. He had asked for a data point. In the years that followed, the symbols in his notebooks became letters, then block words, and finally, precise, neat sentences. He became obsessed with proof and documentation. We would drive, and he would point out traffic lights that were mistimed by 7 seconds. He would check my grocery receipts and point out a 2-cent pricing error. Right every time. At 11, the school tried to label him oppositional, defiant, because he corrected his math teacher in front of the class. I brought 6 months of his therapist's notes and his advanced math papers. He wasn't defiant. He was factually direct. He didn't understand that adults were sometimes wrong and should be protected. His brain simply saw an error and corrected it. We won the battle. That night, he asked me for his birth certificate, his school papers, his social security card. I just want to see everything, he said. Make sure it's all there, so nothing gets lost or changed. I helped him scan everything into his new tablet. Birth records, medical history, every legal document I possessed. He created folders with labels I didn't quite understand, backing it all up on multiple drives. I thought he was trying to understand his past. I had no idea he was building armor for his future. The birth of the system. Leo was 12 when he discovered coding. He taught himself Python on my ancient laptop. He spent the entire summer glued to the screen. Lines of code, his only language. When I bought him a proper computer, he set up 3 monitors in his room. He'd stay up all night, the click of the keyboard his only companion. I'd bring him a sandwich, leaving it on his desk beside his yellow cup. At 14, he showed me his project. It wasn't a game. It was a program with a clean, simple interface. This is it, he said. The verification system. What does it do? I asked. It takes any digital document, analyzes its metadata, its digital fingerprints, and its editing history, he explained. If someone alters a document, even changing one word, the signature changes. It catches forgeries. That's incredible, Leo, I said. He nodded. It's just pattern recognition. Digital instead of physical. For the next 2 years, he digitized all my old paperwork, my bank statements, my 2013 calendar with my frantic scribbles about calling Serena, the grocery receipts that proved I bought his specialized oatmeal. He cross-referenced every date. The system, he explained, connected every document to the ones before and after it. If someone tries to change one link, the whole chain breaks, he told me. He wasn't documenting his life. He was creating an unassailable record of my life with him, and her life without him. The knock and the lie. Leo was 16 when he sold the verification system to a major security firm for $2.5 million. The local news ran a feel-good story about the brilliant autistic teen. 2 weeks later, the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there she was, Serena, older, dressed in a sleek grey suit, perfectly composed, but with tension around her mouth. Beside her stood a man in a dark suit carrying a leather briefcase. "Hi, Mom," she said, her smile not reaching her eyes. "We're here to discuss custody and financial guardianship," the lawyer, Mr. Walsh, stated smoothly. "My client, Serena Vance, has maintained parental rights and wishes to resume active custody." My hands went cold. "She hasn't called in 12 years. You're lying." Mr. Walsh pulled out a stack of papers with official-looking seals. "These documents show Mrs. Vance maintained legal parental rights. She's documented her financial support and communication over the years." I looked at the documents. They looked real, professional, perfect. My heart hammered. Serena had prepared a flawless, cold-blooded lie. Leo appeared in the hallway behind me. His face was blank, no surprise, no fear, just the analytical expression he used for complicated math problems. "Those are fake," I whispered, turning to Leo. "What do we do?" He walked into the kitchen and sat at the table, the same table, where he ate breakfast every morning and built his system. "We should get a lawyer," he said calmly. "Let her talk." The next few weeks were a blur of terror and paperwork. Our lawyer, a brilliant woman named Linda, sat at my kitchen table, reviewing Serena's documents. "They look legitimate," Elara, Linda said, her voice grave. "They are professionally forged." "I believe you, but a judge needs concrete proof." She never legally terminated her rights. Without absolute proof of fraud, a judge will have to consider her claim, especially regarding his new assets. I looked at Leo. He sat perfectly still, his small hands folded on the table. The deposition was grueling. Serena's testimony was seamless. She visited monthly, sent support for therapy, called regularly to check on his progress. Lie after detailed lie. During the deposition, Linda told me to stay calm. "Let her tell her story, Elara. Don't react." When it was Leo's turn, he answered every question truthfully, but briefly. "Do you remember your mother visiting?" "I don't recall specific visits." "Do you want your mother to control your assets?" "No." That night, I was terrified. I found Leo at his computer at 3 a.m., the 3 monitors glowing. "We're going to lose, Leo," I cried, my voice breaking. "She has proof, even if it's fake. I don't know how to fight this." He stopped typing, didn't turn around. "Tell the truth tomorrow," he said quietly. "The truth isn't enough." "Tell the truth," he repeated. "That's all you have to do." The final proof. The courtroom was small, and the air was thick with tension. Serena and Mr. Walsh sat across from us, confident and composed. Serena delivered her testimony with sincere, maternal regret. She thought she had won. Judge Harrison, a woman with sharp eyes, looked at the documents. "Mrs. Cooper," she said, looking at me kindly, "these records show you've been the primary caregiver, but without legal proof of abandonment. Her parental rights remain intact." My chest tightened. I looked at Leo, desperate. He was watching Serena. I leaned close, whispered, "We have to stop her." He turned his head slightly and whispered back, "Let her talk. Let her say everything she wants to say." Then the judge turned to Leo. "Young man, do you wish to speak?" Leo stood up. "Yes, Your Honor, I have evidence. Your client presented fraudulent documents 6 weeks ago," Leo stated, looking directly at the lawyer. "I'm presenting an analysis of those documents now." He clicked through screens, showing creation dates, editing history, and timestamps. He pulled up the image of my 2013 calendar, my own cramped handwriting, with his school attendance records. Mrs. Vance claims she visited in December 2016. Here are my grandmother's school logs showing I was present every day that month. Here are my therapy notes from December 9th. Therapist confirmed. No mother present. He continued, Mrs. Vance claims she sent money orders. Here are 12 years of my grandmother's bank records. Every transaction documented. Nothing from Serena Vance. He pulled up the signature analysis of the forged custody papers, comparing them to the authentic signature on his birth certificate. The pressure patterns don't match, he stated with finality. These signatures were forged. The courtroom was silent. You built this system? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor. It analyzes documents for authenticity. It's what I sold last month for $2.5 million. The Judge Harrison looked at Serena, whose face had gone pale and whose composure had utterly crumbled. Mrs. Vance, did you or did you not falsify custody documents? Serena stammered, I did visit. The dates are just... The judge slammed her gavel. I've seen enough. I find your documentation fraudulent and your testimony not credible. Full custody and guardianship is awarded to Elara Cooper. Furthermore, I am referring this case to the district attorney for investigation of perjury and fraud. The final check. Outside the courthouse, standing in the afternoon sun, I finally understood. I hugged Leo tightly, and he didn't pull away. You knew, I whispered. You've been protecting us all along. He nodded once. I built the system so the truth couldn't be lost. 6 months later, Serena was sentenced to probation and mandatory community service at an autism resource center. I saw her there once, reading to a group of quiet, non-verbal children. She looked exhausted, humbled, nothing like the woman who showed up with a lawyer. The director told me she was learning what she should have learned years ago. On a quiet Tuesday evening, I brought dinner to Leo's new, modest apartment. His yellow cup sat on the counter, chipped but still his favorite. As I cleared the plates, he put his phone down. Elara, he said. I waited. I know what you gave up for me. I heard you on the phone, turning down trips, changing your life. You chose it every day, even when I couldn't say thank you. My throat was tight. You were worth every single day. He nodded, making eye contact for a brief, clear moment. I know that now. I kissed the top of his head on my way out. On the drive home, my phone buzzed at a red light. A text from Leo. Thank you. Just those 2 words. The simplest truth, and the only evidence I ever truly needed. So, that's the story, the boy who built proof. Now, I want to hear from you. What part of the story resonated with you the most? Did you have a similar experience? Or do you have a different perspective on how things turned out? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the stories behind the moments. Until the next tale, take care.